One of the most difficult questions people ask criminal defense attorneys is this: how can you look the victim's family in the eye? Sometimes it's asked angrily, sometimes with genuine confusion, and sometimes quietly by people trying to understand what this work actually means. It's a fair question, and it deserves a serious answer. Before we begin, this is general information and reflection, not legal advice. Every case is different. If you're dealing with a legal situation, speak with a lawyer about your specific circumstances in your jurisdiction. Now, when someone loses a loved one or believes that someone they love has been harmed, the pain in that room is real. It's not theoretical, it's not abstract, and it's not something any lawyer should ever dismiss. I've been in courtrooms where the grief was so heavy you could feel it in the air. Families sitting behind the prosecution table, holding photographs, clutching tissues, waiting for answers. There might be a mother who hasn't slept in months, a father who aged 10 years in one, siblings trying to hold each other together. Nothing about that is easy to witness, and no one becomes a defense lawyer because they want to add to that pain. But here's what's important to understand. The question itself, how can you look the victim's family in the eye? It assumes something that isn't quite accurate. It assumes that a defense lawyer is there to deny that pain or to diminish it or to argue that it doesn't matter. And that's just not the role. A defense lawyer isn't there to erase the victim. A defense lawyer isn't there to celebrate harm. And a defense lawyer certainly isn't there to tell a grieving family that their loss isn't significant. The role is something different, something harder to explain, but absolutely essential. In our system, the government has enormous power: the power to investigate, the power to surveil, the power to charge someone with a crime, the power to take away someone's freedom, sometimes for the rest of their life. That power is necessary, but it's also dangerous if left unchecked. A defense lawyer stands between that power and an individual person, not to obstruct justice, but to make sure that the system operates with discipline and integrity. Evidence has to be tested, not accepted at face value, but scrutinized. Witnesses have to be questioned, not attacked, but examined. Procedures have to be followed, not as a technicality, but as a safeguard. Because when the system stops asking hard questions, mistakes happen. And when mistakes happen in criminal cases, the consequences can be permanent. We know this isn't theoretical. Innocent people have been convicted. DNA exonerations have proven that. Eyewitnesses have been wrong. Confessions have been false. Forensic evidence has been misinterpreted. Every single one of those wrongful convictions happened because someone, maybe a prosecutor, maybe a judge, maybe a jury, stopped asking the hard questions. So, looking at a victim's family in the eye means recognizing two truths at the same time. The first truth is that their suffering matters, it's real, it's valid, and it deserves to be acknowledged. The second truth is that the person accused still has rights: constitutional rights, human rights, the right to be presumed innocent, the right to confront the evidence, the right to a fair process. Those two truths are not enemies. In fact, they depend on each other. The legitimacy of the outcome, the thing that allows a family to have closure, the thing that allows a community to have confidence in the result, depends on both of those truths being respected. If a conviction happens without scrutiny, without testing, without discipline, it will always carry doubt. Was the right person convicted? Was the evidence reliable? Did the system get it right? But if the process is disciplined and fair, if every piece of evidence is tested and every witness is questioned, then the result carries legitimacy. The outcome can be trusted. I have represented people who made terrible mistakes, people who caused real harm, people whose actions created genuine victims. I've also represented people who were accused of things they did not do, people who were misidentified, people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time, people who were caught up in a system that moved too fast and asked too few questions. In both situations, the responsibility is the same. My job is not to decide who deserves compassion and who doesn't. My job is to make sure that the process remains honest. And here's the hard part. Sometimes that means challenging evidence that a victim's family believes is true. Sometimes it means pointing out inconsistencies that the prosecution would prefer not to discuss. Sometimes it means raising questions that feel, to the people in that room, like an attack on their loved one. I understand why that's painful. I do. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is a system where accusations alone determine outcomes, where the emotional weight of a tragedy overrides the need for evidence, where the desire for justice, understandable, human, legitimate, becomes a shortcut around the process. History shows us exactly how dangerous that becomes. When we dispense with the hard questions, when we say this is too painful to scrutinize, when we let grief, however justified, replace evidence, we have problems. Looking a victim's family in the eye also means remembering that everyone in that room is human. The families are human. They're experiencing real pain, real loss, real anger. The accused is human. They have a family too, people who love them, people who are also afraid of what might happen. And the system itself is run by humans who can make mistakes. Detectives who sometimes see what they expect to see. Prosecutors who sometimes become convinced of guilt before all the evidence is in. Judges who sometimes get the law wrong. A defense lawyer's presence is not an insult to the victim. It's not a denial of their pain. It's a safeguard for the integrity of the process. It's a reminder that we have to get this right, that the stakes are too high for everyone to accept anything less than a rigorous, honest examination of the evidence. When the system works properly, when it functions the way it's supposed to, everyone benefits from the discipline it requires. Victims benefit because the result is credible. They can have confidence that the right person was held accountable, that justice was done, not just asserted. Defendants benefit because their rights are protected. Innocent people aren't convicted. Guilty people receive proportional punishment. And the public benefits because the outcome can be trusted. Because we can look at the system and say, it worked, it was fair, it was thorough. So when someone asks me, how can you look the victim's family in the eye? The honest answer is this: by taking the responsibility of this role seriously, by understanding that the pain in that room is real and treating it with the respect it deserves. But also by understanding that my job is not to validate every emotion or accept every accusation. My job is to make sure that the system does its work carefully, honestly, and without shortcuts. Because justice that survives scrutiny is the only kind that truly holds. It's the only kind that brings real closure. It's the only kind that a victim's family can rely on years later when they need to believe that the outcome was correct. That's not easy. It's never easy, but it's necessary. I'm Joel Chorny. Remember, you have rights. They matter. Protect them. Stay safe. Click like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.